Just saved all that money. Yes, madam? Yeah, I would give them as little information, as little hard information as possible. Because every bit of hard information you give them reduces the opportunities for you to contact them. Have you got a product list? Not on the stand, but I tell you what, I'll get one to you next week. And then your salesperson comes up and says, oh, you wanted a product list? I'll drop it round. When would be convenient? Try and make them walk off the stand empty-handed. So,
sorry, we talked earlier about competition.
Yeah.
We talked earlier about competition.
Yeah.
You said you were going to come back to that.
Oh, right, yes.
The 2 points obviously this is not a competition. I'm assuming you're talking about different things.
Yeah.
The idea for me about interactive competition was to do with regards to obviously taking the data. Because surely if you produce a competition, the likelihood is they're going to give me their correct email address.
Yeah.
As opposed to some competition on this.
Yeah.
So what's your
Right. My qualified response that I would give to that is, if you're going to run a competition, yes, it will do that for you. If your qualifying system and your presentation is good enough, hardly anyone is going to give you wrong information, at least not intentionally. That's one point. The second point is, again, if you're going to run a competition, try to make sure that the prize is only relevant to people you want to do business with. So don't give them a mini cruise of the Norwegian fjords. Give them something that's relevant to your business. But also, if you're going to do a competition, have your nice first prize, which is very attractive. There will be 400 second prizes of something else that's relevant and very cheap for you to produce. 400 is maybe a bit too many, but have multiple second prizes. Why? So that when you go through your leads after the show, you can pick out the people that you really want to do business with, phone them up and say, congratulations, you won the second prize. When can I deliver it? Now that's a little bit sneaky, but I'll leave the ethical side of it to you. Have lots of second prizes. Sorry?
All those packs that you can give away, the ones that you gave out earlier, do you have a list of those?
It's the ears. Try again. No, please.
Well, I was making a joke. On the pads that you were giving away, the booklets.
Oh, yes.
Have you got any more that we could use to give away?
Oh, I see. Actually, sad to say that business is long gone as well. Okay, where are we? 4.27, that's right, okay. Next one is, oh, sorry.
Sorry, all of these things, sticky buns and cups of coffee and competitions and freebies, are all things designed to get people to your stand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then obviously it's up to whoever's there to then turn that into business and not just a sticky bun.
Yeah.
So what is the better way? If you get rid of all these things, what's the better way of getting people to your stand?
Okay. No one is going to come for your sticky buns and things unless they're walking past your stand. So they're walking past your stand anyway. You have lead qualifiers who will stop them as they go by and talk to them.
Not strictly true, because people will say, where did you get that sticky bun from, or where did you get that freebie from, and
Yeah.
we'll find out that information and then...
Wonderful. Yeah. So you then qualify that person before you give them a sticky bun.
No.
I'm joking slightly now. I still don't think you should be giving them a sticky bun. The person who comes to your stand looking for sticky buns is coming to your stand looking for sticky buns. They are going to be harder to qualify.
So what's the better way of doing it?
The better way is to use lead generators who will stop people going past.
Yeah, how do you get them to come to your stand?
Okay, can I?
Yeah, go on.
Hi. The better way to get them to stand in the first place is through pre-show marketing, and CloserStill Media will help you with that as well. So if you're using pre-show marketing, in the past we've had clients that have done crazy things like sent out a left slipper and said come to the stand and collect the white slipper, but that's targeted, it's different. You're getting people to stand that you want on the stand. what's the point in creating a mass market of 300 people gathering around the stand to fight for that remaining bun, when actually you really need to target in that short space of time who you need to speak to.
Thank you. Where was it? Oh yes, jargon. We all do it, and we shouldn't. Don't use it verbally, don't use it on your signage. I did it earlier on today when I said putting stuff into your CRM system. There will be maybe one or two people here who don't know what a CRM system is, but they didn't put their hand up and ask, because we don't like to ask. Because we feel everybody else knows, so we're the stupid one.
I don't know what CRM is.
Ta-da! To be honest, neither do I, but it's something to do with customer relationship management, and it's usually it's a bit of software. So, it doesn't just apply to exhibitions, obviously, but it does apply very much to exhibitions. Company or industry jargon may miss the point and make your prospect feel excluded. Even IT jargon, people, information technology. I don't think anybody says that anymore. But even IT people can forget what a CPU jargon, central processing unit. I looked that one up. And they won't admit it. Yeah? They'll simply go away confused, resentful, and possibly hostile towards you and your company. I believe the Sun and the other red tops jargon, the other cheap newspapers, low-class newspapers, aim their copy at a child of 7 or 8. And in fact, Einstein said once, if you can't explain it to a 7-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. So try to make sure that the words you speak, the copy you display, will be understandable by an intelligent 7 or 8-year-old. And that way you'll get the message across. Madam?
What if Telegram comes to do with what's the road?
Yeah?
Are we allowed to say we don't understand?
Oh, yes. Yeah, because you see, that makes them feel superior. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm really thick, but what does that mean? Gives them a chance to show off. Nichola? Oh, sorry. Yes, the lady was asking that if people come and start talking jargon to you, is it okay to tell them you don't understand what they're talking about? And the answer is yes, it's great, because they get a chance to show off. So,
yeah, quite a lot of the exhibitions we attend, English is the first language. We've got international exhibitions.
yeah.
We're comment about making big bold headlines and so on. Obviously not necessarily only in English. Will pictures do better or will they suffice?
Very good, yes. A picture is worth 1,000 words. We all know that. You're absolutely right, sir. So multilingual exhibitions, maybe, well, not just multilingual. Pictures, if you can get your message across with a graphic or a photograph, yes, so much the better. Because people take that in faster than they take in words. I'm going to make a note of that and use that. Thank you.
Sorry, what's your viewpoint to video? Because we're planning to do video.
Wouldn't bother if I were you. Wouldn't bother. No. Think about video. In fact, we had a very interesting case with one of our clients last year at the Business Startup Show. They had a rolling video on their stand, which we suggested that they get rid of, and they insisted on keeping it. Now, 3 bad things happened. The first bad thing was that there was an awful lot of noise at the show, and you couldn't hear the words. Now, you could have done silent video, admittedly, but theirs had words on it. The second bad thing that happened was that none of their stand staff ever referred to the video. It was just this thing in the background. And the third bad thing that happened was that it broke down. So it wasn't any good anyway. Now, I'd be happy to discuss what you're planning to do with video because, you know, different strokes for different folks. I'm not saying it's never any good. I'm just saying that it's usually not any good. And it's cheaper not to have it. The other thing not to do is to take big bulky bits of equipment. I was talking to someone at a show not long ago who'd actually taken a forklift truck, because they sold forklift trucks, and they had a forklift truck on their stand. And I said, what's that there for? And they said, so that visitors can see it. And I said, well, Do you mean that the people you do business with don't know what a forklift truck looks like? How much did it cost you to bring this here? Oh, about £1,200. How much is it going to cost you to take it back? Oh, about another £1,200. Why didn't they take a remote control model? Far more interesting, far more exciting, would have been far more useful. Or better still, just have a photograph of a forklift truck. So, try to cut down the cost. You know, we spend an awful lot of our time trying to get people to spend less money, as does CloserStill, believe it or not. Jargon. Oh! And never, 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 never leave your stand unattended. Go around any exhibition you like and you will see multiple stands with absolutely no one on them. It's almost worse than being on there talking on your mobile phone. If you need extra people to man your stand, talk to me. We've got great people. An empty stand means you are not interested in the visitor. Yeah? Remember that old saying, people buy from people? Very true. That's why you're there, to get contact, person-to-person contact. People do not buy from posters, they do not buy from leaflets, and they never, ever buy from empty spaces. Admittedly, sometimes people buy empty spaces. You know, developers buy empty spaces, farmers buy empty spaces, but they don't buy from empty spaces. Make sure you have people on your stand at all times. Okay, half a dozen decisions that you need to make. Notes would be good at this point, I suggest. You need to decide who is going to be your team captain, your stand manager. And the stand manager needs to have the authority to orchestrate all stand activity, even if it means telling the managing director to shove off because he or she is in the way. Now, your staff might find it difficult to do that, so I suggest you hire a stand manager from us. Because our stand managers are wonderful, they have the advantage that they can't be fired by your managing director, and they therefore will be very firm with him or her. Next you have to decide who is going to deal with your VIP jargon visitors, very important persons. And that probably means taking them away from the stand as well, because very important persons often take a fair bit of time to deal with. So have someone who can take them away and give them the attention that they need and expect. Possibly your vice president for very important persons is the best person to do it. Or your managing director, because your managing director is a waste of space on your stand anyway, unless you're a very small company. So decide who is going to deal with these very important persons. Decide who is going to deal with the press. I don't mean the press that are coming around to try and sell you adverts. I mean the press that are coming around to interview you because you have a great stand, a great product, a great service. And it's probably a good idea to take them away as well. Take them off, have a cup of coffee. You need to decide who's going to visit your competitors' stands to do market research. Shows are a great opportunity to see what the opposition's up to. Also, who in your team is going to be attending the seminars, the conferences, the workshops. These are networking opportunities. There may be information that is of interest to you, of course, but also they are opportunities to meet new potential customers, new potential suppliers, maybe people who would not have visited your stand. The ones that went somewhere else for the bun and the coffee, because you're not doing it anymore. These are networking opportunities. Somebody needs to go to the seminars, etc. Decide maybe who's going to send out the evening emails. That may be somebody back at head office, I don't know. But it may be someone who's actually in your team. Instead of going out to the nightclub with the rest of you, that poor person has to sit in their hotel room and send out email after email after email. But just make sure they visited today, there's an email on their desk, on their computer tomorrow. Decide who is going to operate any technical equipment. Hopefully not a technical person. Make sure that any technical equipment you do have is 100% reliable and simple so that it won't go wrong. And even then, it will go wrong. So for preference, don't have any technical equipment either. Just have people and pictures. Now, sometimes, of course, you do have to do demonstrations. It's something to avoid if possible because demonstrations take up valuable time. But you may be in a situation where you have to do it. But consider the amount of money that's required to mount demonstrations in a lot of cases, and is it worth it? There was a show not long ago where there was a company exhibiting who had, they were a company that helped you to set up e-commerce systems. So you could sell through the internet and so on and so forth. And this company was demonstrating how simple it was to produce your own e-commerce website. And they had 20 laptops around a big table. They got 20 people in to demonstrate to them. And within 2 minutes of starting, they had a failure of their equipment. And the poor presenter had to spend 20 minutes explaining to people with blank expressions on their faces how simple it was when the stuff was working. Absolute disaster. Try to avoid it if you possibly can. Okay, how am I doing for time? Not terribly well, I've run over. Okay, let's move this along very quickly then. There are 3 or 4 key tasks that you need to perform on your stand to make it work. The first key task is engaging and qualifying visitors. This is your vanguard. This is the most important task possibly. And I have to say, women are much better at this than men. Unfortunately, men seem to outnumber women on sales forces. And equally unfortunately, for reasons unfathomable, most show stands are manned, it is true, by salespeople. Why don't we like salespeople at exhibitions? Because salespeople like to sell. Salespeople like to talk. What you want is a process. What you want is a presentation. What you want is to get them on, get them processed, and get them on. You don't want to be spending 20 minutes talking to one person. A 4-minute presentation is about the maximum. What happens with salespeople is they get dragged into conversation. They also know far too much about your services and products, so they are able to be interrogated. If you use people from Task Force 2, understand, they have got a clue about your products and services, so they can't answer the questions. What they can do is promise to have the questions answered later. That's something that's worth going into a bit more detail about, but I don't have time this morning. But I'd love to talk to you about it. Sometimes, having qualified people, you will need to hold them and perhaps entertain them for a few minutes before someone is ready to do a presentation to them. So your second key task is probably the task of entertainer. The next task is actually making the corporate presentation, whatever that is. So you've qualified them, the entertainer's chatted to them or done whatever the entertainer's doing and has then introduced them to the person who is going to do the presentation. And the final key task is the information capture, making sure the data collection form is filled out and filled out legibly. So, 4 tasks, and everybody on your stand really needs to be able to do all 4. Because people take breaks. So somebody else has to step into the breach. So you do need backup. So, recapping very quickly there, we've got qualifier, that's the lead generation. We've got the entertainer, who keeps them happy until we pass them on to the presenter. And after the presenter has done his or her stint, they then go on to the finisher, who captures the information or makes sure the information that they have completed during the presentation is actually legible before sending them on their way. Nichola, I think, will be covering these in a bit more detail in her section. So, as you would gather, what we're promoting here is a very disciplined approach to exhibiting. It has to be disciplined because we need it to work smoothly and quickly. So everyone needs to know what they're doing, what their job is, and needs to be able to perform. They need to be able to separate the sheep from the goats, make sure it's only the goats that get onto your stand. They have to be able to process them quickly and efficiently and come up with some leads that are actually worth your sales team following up. I think I've covered pretty much all I can cover in the time available. I know I've run over, I'm really sorry. The coffee is up there at the back. Please help yourself to refreshments. And if you do have any questions, I'm going to be hanging around here for quite a while. So talk to me now or at the end of the morning. Thanks very much for your time. There's an expectant hush has dropped. So I obviously gave you the right kind of filter because they're absolutely rigid with attention, if that's the right word. I just wanted to say I did a slightly inept job of some of my closing statements because the gentleman came up to me during the break and said, words to the effect of, are you seriously suggesting that people on the stand should know nothing? Because when people come up and ask them a question, if they have to say, I don't know, it makes them look inept. It makes the company look inept. And he's absolutely right, of course. Even our people have to know a little bit. But they also have to know how to deflect questions. Because you don't want to spend a lot of time asking questions. So deflection is the important thing rather than answering questions. But yes, everybody needs to have a little knowledge, I do confess. So if I gave the wrong impression, I do apologise.
Would you take that with? Hi, I'm Nichola. I don't think I need much of an introduction. Most of you have seen me running around the room, or most of the ladies in the toilets. Did introduce me quite nicely, thank you very much. But one thing you do need to know about is, you've looked at pre-show planning, that's really important, you've seen that. What we're going to look at now is what actually happens at the show. But before we start, I'd like to know who here is a marketing manager or an events manager. And okay, keep your hands up. Can we answer those stand managers at the show that you're going to be doing? Any directors or company owners? Good, thank you. It just helps me to deliver the training because obviously you're all from different sectors, you're all going to be going to different shows, you've all got different positions, so although my training here has to be quite general because obviously it's not specific and bespokely written for your personal needs, you will be able to take things away from this and apply it in sort of your own company principles. Can I also ask while I'm here, how many of you use your sales staff on your exhibition stand? Pretty much all of you. That's good to know. Okay, thank you. Right. You've done all your pre-show planning, you've spent hours in the office, you calculated, you've done all your numbers, everything that Stu's been through with you this morning. But unless you get the next bit right, all of that pre-show planning, all the expense, will completely be in vain. So let's have a look at what I mean when I say this. It's going to be better for you this half because you've seen now what is your planning, that's down to you. But the next stage actually involves your team. So this information you're going to have to take back, share with your team, and if you think you need something a little bit more bespoke, a little bit more personal, speak to us and we'll be able to help you with the team. Okay, so what is the process? What makes a successful exhibition? Before we discuss the slide, any ideas what makes a successful exhibition? Yes? The right targets. So how many targets? Achieving your goals. Interesting. Targets, goals. Sorry? Sales. Attendance. All valid points. But did you know that well over 90% of the success of your next trade show is going to be down to one thing? Your people. Because without the right people on your stand, you're not going to engage with passers-by, you're not going to get good qualified leads, and you're not going to be able to generate any business. So if you want a 3-story, neon lit, all singing, all dancing stand, fine. Let that be your hook. But without the people on it, then that money is going to be in vain. Can everyone see that? Okay, so what is our process? What's our formula? This formula works. And when we say process, we don't want you to think that it's a really cold, calculated term. Jim spoke about getting people in, getting through, getting them off. And it's true, that's what we do. But in natural everyday life, isn't that what you do? Ladies, when you meet your friends for a coffee, you make the appointment, meet you at 10, right? You meet them at 10, you have the coffee, you discuss everything you need to discuss in 3 hours. You say goodbye, and you go home. It's absolutely the same at an exhibition. It's a natural process. So please don't think that this is really regimented and we're not treating people humanely. All we're doing is just taking you out of a natural environment and putting you into a goldfish bowl where you're not naturally going to feel comfortable, particularly your sales staff, because it's not what they normally do. And then we're asking them to do something naturally. So what we're doing is just highlighting what would naturally occur. And this is what the visitor is expecting. So this is our process and this works. So this is what we're going to be looking at for the next hour. How to engage and qualified passers-by. Can everyone hear me all right? How to engage and qualify passers-by. Now if they qualify, by that I mean, yes we want to speak to them, yes we could do business with them, or yes we would like to send them information, then we have to put them through a process. In other words, an education. If they don't qualify, then they're a dead lead. And we have to, as Jim said, dispose of the body. So very, very important that we know how we're going to qualify early on. Of course, if it's positive, then we're going to pitch to them or demonstrate to them or something else that's only going to take just a matter of minutes. And then we're going to close, because all good things have to come to an end anyway. We're going to close them down and send them on their way very happy and looking forward to the next point of contact. So that is the very simple process, but we're going to break this down now and have a look at it in much more detail. If you have any questions, shout out. It is quite a workshop, so I am going to be putting you through your paces as well, just to make you think about your own personal product, your own personal company. One more question before we move on. Is anyone here going to an exhibition and they're not actually selling anything? So, do you mind asking what you do? Jim? Sorry, can we have sound on the mic? Sorry.
We're NHS Health Authority, so we integrate exhibitions to maintain and raise our profile, to let people know that we're there and tell them about our services and what we can do for them.
Okay, so with you then, although you're perhaps not selling a service or a product, so you're not actually talking pound notes, you'd still have to have a successful exhibition to warrant you being there, wouldn't you? So you'd still be happy to hit certain targets, maybe get certain numbers through the stand, something like that?
We haven't had
set specific targets as far as I know. I'm quite new to it. I'm not usually involved in exhibitions, so it's just a recent thing for me. But I'm not aware of us having to hit certain targets in terms of getting leads or making, speaking to a certain number of people.
Okay, but it's still good for us all to know that we're all here for different reasons. So for most of us, we probably are talking about sales and services, but for the lady in the front table here, and maybe one or two others up here as well, she's not actually going to be looking at that, but you can still apply these principles to make your show more proactive and more successful. Okay, so let's have a look then at the very first part of the process, which is the communication process. There's actually going to be 6 slides on this, and it's really very important because the whole thing about an exhibition is that we communicate. It's all about talking, which is why I'm actually quite good at it, because that's what I do really well. No comments from Jim, that's good. So let's start with the very, very first thing. Before we even open our mouths, we're standing on our exhibition stand, we've just polished the silver, it looks wonderful, we're very, very excited about this fantastic day, we've been promised record numbers, and as the floodgates open and they storm in through the doors at the first minute of opening, what do we do? What do we do? Before we even open our mouths, we can see all the visitors rushing down the aisles, all excited, perhaps they're going to seminars. And any ideas what we do before we even open our mouths? Well, I heard you all say smile, that's brilliant, and that certainly is part of the process. But before we even do that, what about body language? Should we look approachable? Should we be at the back of the stand? Or should we be toward the front of the stand? We're going to touch on that. Oops, I'm going to kill myself. We're going to touch on that in a little bit more detail in a second, but you'll be very, very surprised how often we walk past stands any time of the day and the staff on there are less than proactive. And you'd be surprised how often we see this. Hi, honey. Yeah. Don't forget to feed the cat. Or what about this? Hey, great party last night. Where is it tonight? New Street, Birmingham. See you there. Or this. No interest at all. You can't talk to the back of someone's head. Or what about this? Now, Jim, I've got this great new business idea for our company. Now, let's get all the team in. Come on now. Let's all have a chat about this. Your eyes are looking a bit red, Jim. Yeah, you've been partying too hard last night again. You were in bed after 10:30, weren't you? So, there's partying, there's red eyes, bad breath, there's talking amongst colleagues, there's closed body language, or there's the bouncer look. Don't you dare come on this stand, I'm protecting it with my life. But all of those types of body language are negative. They're all negative. So we certainly wouldn't want to fall asleep on our stand. And we do have photographic evidence that this happens. No newspapers, no books, no phones, no PCs, no laptops. Because we're going to be really approachable, aren't we? And we're going to be ready for those visitors. So that is very, very important when we look at the very first part of the communication process. Then what do? We make eye contact. Now, as you all rightly said, there's different types of eye contact. So there's this kind of eye contact, that kind of eye contact, or there's that kind of eye contact, or there's this kind of eye contact. Hi. You see? So, eye contact is important, but always with a smile, and always with open body language. And what you're saying is, I'm approachable, I'm available to talk to, and I'd really like to stop you and talk to you. Now at that point, most people will want you, and they'll naturally walk towards you. But if nothing else, eye contact will give you a good sign of what the other person's body language is saying. So that means I'm really rushing to the loo, I've only just got here and I'm desperate for a coffee. So it's important that we use eye contact because we can gauge how the visitor is feeling. And it's pointless wasting your time on someone that's actually going to ignore you, and it can be very, very disheartening. So pick your candidate as they walk past, smile, eye contact, open body language. Okay, we must never say, "Can I help you?" Why not? First question, what would they say? No. Lost them. Never ever say, "Are you alright there?" Why not? What would they say? Yes, thank you. We've lost them. So every time we open our mouths, we have to ask an open question. Right, Jim, get your pen at the ready. We're going to get this team working now. So what kind of questions would you use? Not product related, not company related. So we're now talking about open questions that will break the ice. Okay, we've got a lady over there. Just wait for the microphone.
Something like, what brought you here today?
Great, my legs. Sorry, that's being really cynical, but that's what some of the people will say. But it's a great question. Why did you come to the show?
What are you interested in seeing?
What are you interested in seeing? What are you looking for? Great icebreaker. Any more? Yes, please.
How was your journey here?
Great. How was your journey here? And I've got, where have you come from? Where have you come from? Travelled far? Any more? I've got one more that you haven't covered. Yes? How are you? It's really nice to show a personal interest in that. The only problem with that is very often they'll say, "I'm fine," and they'll carry on walking. You really need to stop them with a question that's going to make them open their mouth and say more than 2 words. So by asking them an open, direct question, you're making them stop, think, "I've been stopped," and have to answer you. Another great one is, "What do you do? Why have you come to the show today? What do you do?" You've stopped them, you've got them talking. So at this point, congratulations, you've broken the ice and you are officially engaged, which is the very first part of the communication process. One other thought though, on when it comes to opening body language. Has anyone heard of carpet phobia? There is such a thing. Anyone? No? Well, it happens mostly to staff who are on a stand and they have a different colour carpet to the gangways, to the aisles. Now, say for example, the aisle is blue carpet. Your stand may have a red carpet, or maybe a wooden floor. But there's a phobia. You see, you can't cross the line, can you? No, you can't. You can't quite make it, because if you do that, you're going to meet people. And you can't do that, can you? Because that's not why we're at the show, is it? We're at the show to stay in that safe little space, our home for the next 3 days. Well, actually, you're there to meet people. So get off the stand, get the sales team off the stand, if that's who you're using, get them into the different colour carpet, with their open body language, a nice smile, a friendly face, and an open question. Is that difficult? Well, actually, for some people it's very difficult, but do it anyway. Because once you've done the first 2 to 3, it gets much easier. You realise people are actually quite friendly guys, and they'll be quite happy to stop and have a little chat with you. Use your eye contact, gauge the body language. If you think you're going to get rebuffed, don't approach them. Simple as that. Pick someone that you think is going to be friendly. It's really not that difficult. So that's really important. Get over the carpet phobia. Now, I have to say at this point, don't send your staff all over the show And certainly don't encroach more than halfway across the aisle, because that wouldn't be fair on your neighbours who are working around you and opposite you. And CloserStill media wouldn't be very happy with me saying that. So stay close to the stand, but work the aisles, because that's where the people are. There's another reason for me saying that as well, because this communication process is actually communication, but controlled communication. So who's in control? Is it you, or is it your prospect? What do you think? Who should be in control? Anyone?
I would say it would be prospect to think easy.
That's a clever answer. Yeah, you want them to think they're in control, but really, who should be in control? Who's making the decisions here? It should be you, because you paid the money to be there. So you should stay in control of this whole communication process. That's why you're asking the questions and they're not. So stay in control, use the communication process, and get them engaged. Let's move on now. You've now got them talking, but now you've got to find out whether they're actually worth anything to you. Because you don't want to waste their time if they're not, but at the same time you don't want to waste your own time. So let's have a look at that. We've got to say, listen to the answers. It's very important. So, what kind of questions would we ask for that then? So you've broken the ice. How are you today? Travelled far? Oh, I came from Northamptonshire. Roads are pretty bad, aren't they? Yeah. So now what do we ask them? We ask them about their reasons for being there. Okay, question someone? What would you ask them? Good. What are you hoping to get from the show? Ask about their business. What kind of question would you ask them? That comes next, but very good. You just skipped ahead. Their business. What are you going to ask them? How about, what business are you in? What does your business do? And then ask about their problems. Ask them what kind of problems that they have. So at that point, you could be talking to them about their role. So, who are you? What's the business? What do you do? What kind of problems do you have? Now, what kind of problems do you think that your visitors might express to you? Anyone had any experience with this? Anyone have a little moan about their business or the challenges of their business? What about the economy? NHS cuts? What about productivity? What about their software? What about the customers letting them down? What about the market shrinking? You'll know your own industry, you'll know your own markets, and because this is general, I can't speak for you, but it's so important for you to know your prospects' problems. Because once they've told you about their problems, you can then show them the pain. All business is a bit tight at the moment, you know, we're having to like cut a few jobs here and there in sales and, you know, just like rein things in a bit. So you show them the pain, so what do you say? Oh, that must be really challenging for you. So it means that your salespeople have got a lot more work to do than they used to. It means your productivity has probably gone down. You know, economical time, the economy of the time is pretty difficult, isn't it? We're all feeling it. You're showing them some genuine empathy, but what you're actually doing, you do this naturally, you're showing them some pain. And they're saying, oh, poor me, poor me. And then, of course, what you have to do is show them that there might be a solution, but that comes later. So can you see why qualifying is so important? Because at this point, you should know whether this person is a prospect or not. So, what business are they in? Is that the kind of business you're looking for? What do they do? Are they a decision maker? We can answer that in a moment. Ask about their problems and show them a bit of empathy. But what you are actually doing is showing them a bit of pain. Excuse me. Question?
No. You can start with Health+Care. They boil down to their problems and exaggerate the problem and just slow down, which is handouts and communications. They're not focused on negative rather than positive.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There is a way of doing it. I mean, we're not saying exaggerate it, but what we're saying is show them a little bit of empathy. I mean, what is your business? Yes. Veterinary, pharmaceutical. So obviously you're going to have vets coming to you with a certain amount of problems. So yeah, you would have to be careful because they've come to you for a solution to their problem. You'll get to see how the process will really help you in a moment, actually, as we go through. An issue can be a problem, can't it? Let's not fight over words, but whether it's an issue, whether it's a problem, whether it's something that concerns them, if it's on their mind, get them to talk about it. Because while they're talking to you, they're giving you time, and you're learning about them. And you're learning whether this person is really genuinely someone that you want to continue to speak to. At this point, you'll know whether to continue this communication problem, or whether to say to them, well, it was over to me, have a great day. They don't know what you do, but it doesn't matter, because they're of no use to you, and you're of no use to them. Next, of course, we have to carry on this qualifying, but a little bit deeper. 3 questions should do it. Jim mentioned 3 questions earlier, and I'm so glad you never brought them up. Do you remember he spoke about 3 questions in qualifying that you'd actually know whether you want to do business with this person or not? Now, let's get a little bit more specific on this. Any ideas what these 3 questions are? Jim, are you ready with your pen? Wake up now. 3 questions. Any idea what one of those 3 questions could be? How are you going to qualify to be absolutely sure whether you want to do business with these people or not?
What's your position in the company?
Well done. So are they a decision maker? So you would ask them about their role, which Lady brought up earlier. It's absolutely essential. You also need to know if the company is in the right business. So tell me a little bit more about your company. Actually, what does it do? Are they in the right business? Do they have buying authority? So you would ask, what do you do? Last question, any ideas?
Are you at a point where you can make a decision? Is it the right time?
Oh, brilliant. Yeah, that's not on here, but yeah, very good. It's always good to have it on your feedback form as well. But we'll talk about feedback form in a while. Okay? Actually, I would say if these first 2 are exactly what you're looking for, I wouldn't even worry about the 3rd question. But if you're still not sure, just find out what market they're in. Yes, they might be a decision maker. Yes, they might be in the right industry. But they might not be looking or want what you're offering. So what are you hoping to find at the show today? I think someone mentioned that earlier. What are you hoping to find while you're here today? You could ask them, what are you hoping to gain? What are you hoping to save? So always try to find something that's appealing to their emotions. Because if you went to any business person in the street and said, would you like to save some time? What would they say? Would you like to save some money? Would you like to reduce costs? They're going to say yes every time. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to extract from them, why are they really at the show? Next slide. Now, has anyone heard of this expression, the great unwashed? Or is Jim the oldest person in the room? Oh, apologies. Well, the great unwashed, apparently, I only found this out today because I've been using these slides for 2 years and I actually decided to ask him, what on earth are you talking about? The great unwashed apparently is an, in fact, you might as well tell me because I've forgotten what you said, it's so irrelevant.
Well, when we were sitting in the big house, the great unwashed were the peasants in the village below. And that's basically what it is.
So, in other words...
It was my attempt at a joke. Didn't work. We're going to get rid of it.
Yeah, stick to the dead. So, we're going to go through these slides because these are actually people who you don't want to invite on your stand. Now remember, at this point, you're not on the stand, or your staff member isn't. They're off the stand, they're in the aisles, they've asked all the right questions, and it appears to them that this person is not qualified. So what kind of people are we talking about? Time wasters. That is anyone who is not going to give you an order, who is not interested in your company, but maybe fancies the blonde on the stand. Or it could be someone who, as we have local inhabitants that pop into the NEC quite regularly, live round the corner in a block of flats, retired, nothing better to do, every technical show there is, turns up at the NEC, wanders around, and he has a friend who carries photographs of him and Frank's going to play the ukulele. Now, as interesting as it is speaking to these people, they are not going to bring you business. And if anybody wants to know who they are, after you've got shows coming up at the NEC, I'll give you a full description and you'll know to avoid them, because once you start speaking to them, you will need to use my techniques of getting rid of the time waster. Freebie collectors. PFCs, professional freebie collectors. Jim is one of them. He knows all about it. And of course, most of these things do end up in the top drawer at work, in the bin, go to the grandchildren and the children, and they are not going to bring you business. People selling to you. What kind of people would come to sell to you? Any ideas? You know, workshop.
Exhibition space and the next exhibition.
A competitor organiser. So you're there at an exhibition for CloserStill Media, competitor comes along and says, we've got a great show coming up. Don't waste time with them. You might well be interested. Stay in control, take their business card and call them when you're ready. Someone had a comment over here? Another one? Someone selling you? Marketing, absolutely. And you'll see me in Jim at the shows as well. We're also there, we do what we call show shopping. But what we do is slightly different. We just take the business card and leave, because we have to practice what we preach. However, there are some marketing companies out there, stand-build companies, sales agencies, oh, the list is endless. And you'll see them, we've got pack papers, maybe a company that sends out industry magazines, and they'll come, how are you enjoying this show? They're all friendly with you, and you think, well, these are really friendly. This is the friendliest customer I've had all day. Well, guess what? They're not a customer. And they'll be nice to you because you're the customer. And that is not what you're there for. You've spent your money to bring in business, and anyone who doesn't fit that criteria is a time waster. What about competitors? How do you feel about this, really? Because sometimes we get mixed feelings on competitors. How do you feel about having a competitor on your stand? I know what it's like in pharmacy. Yes, please. They're preventing you from talking to who you should be talking to. Now, I understand that some of you who have been in your industry for a long time, you're going to actually be talking to maybe old work colleagues that you haven't seen for 5, 10, 20 years. But there's a time and there's a place. Meet for coffee. Go off for lunch together. Don't allow them on your stand. It's not so much the Secrecy Act. It's about controlling what goes on the stand. Controlling the flow of people and not clogging it up with human litter. Students. Who loves students? Anyone actually like students? Yay! I love students. They're the buyers of the future, or the dentists or the doctors of the future, aren't they? So we must never be rude to them. But should we give them our time? Great. Have something in place that you know suits you. But make sure that they're not taking up your time. Because a student, as they stand, can't bring business to your company, can't help you to hit your targets that you set pre-show. So all of this list here are people that you would not want to spend valuable time on. Okay, so good question. How do you get rid of a time waster? Don't have them registered beforehand? Interesting. People lie. Is that because you're having a conference as well? Is it often conferences? Yeah. With conferences, it's true. You do have less of that. You do still have people selling to you, though. You do still have industry experts. But you don't have locals, and you possibly have students, but you probably wouldn't. You would have freebie collectors, because let's face it, a lot of these professionals that come to the show will sometimes bring their partner. And they're the professional freebie collectors. Because they're the ones that haven't really got anything to do, they just want to be there for a nice meal in the evening with their partner, nice hotel. Do a bit of shopping in the day, pop into the show. There's the exhibition, can't get into the conferences, but and it's lovely that they're there. But don't waste your time with them. So how do you get rid of them? Tell them the competitor's got the best freebie. Well, if it works for you. Okay, Jim, come and be a time waster. No, we don't want sound, okay? Just mine. Okay, so you're here, you're thinking, oh, what am I going to do? Nichola might be lurking. Mystery shopping. What am I going to do? I can't get rid of this person. Yes, lovely. Well, what can I do? What can I do? So you try to look uninterested. You can see all these people walking past. So what do? Well, you assert some authority. It was lovely to meet you. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Now, at this point, normally they will go, but Jim is winding me up. So Jim is actually very, very, very unaware of personal space, which you do get sometimes. And with that, you have to be very direct. Now, this won't happen to many of you, but when it does, it can be really, really annoying because you can see your passers-by, you're perhaps even noticing the badges, and you're thinking, oh, I've been waiting for that one all day. So what do? You say, listen, I really have to get back to work, otherwise my boss will sack me. But so nice to meet you, and you have a lovely day now. And you have to actually leave the scene. That sometimes is the only way, and it sounds really harsh, but at the end of the day, they're wasting your time, and your company isn't paying your staff to stand and talk to time wasters. Does that sound feasible? Can everyone see that, or am I teaching you to suck eggs? Because you'd be surprised how many people do allow the visitor and an exhibition to take control, and you can't. It's a communication process, but you have to stay in control. Any questions? Great, yes?
People say goodbye, you shook hands with them. Do you think that is actually the physical contact is important?
It's very important. In fact, it's taken from David Letterman. Don't know if any of you have heard of him. He's a very, very well-known American television presenter. And he gets involved in a lot of debates. And so when he's kind of finished with his subject, and he's obviously got his earpiece that's telling him they're counting down, because I've been in this situation myself. They're kind of counting you down, and you have to finish with your piece to camera. So what he'll do is don't mind for you to do, he'll do his piece to camera, they're still in his ear, and he'll just say, lovely to meet you, thank you very much for coming on the show today. And now, see, it works. It's a physical conclusion. Most people know that a handshake means hello or goodbye. It's only the really stupid ones that don't understand your personal space, excuse me, I'm rude, but they don't understand the personal space, they don't understand perhaps the atmosphere that you're trying to create, that you have to be more direct and say, I'm sorry, I have to get back to work.